if you want to support the show, any of the shows, either this or whichever show, I'm not on right now because this is just a blanket ad for all of them, and the website, you can go to bewareofspoilers.com. In the description for any of the episodes of Beware of Spoilers, there is the option to donate. If you don't want to donate that way, you can donate directly through the website. We do have that, mwpnews.com. And if you don't want to support that way, then going to mwpnews.com will help out because we have ads there. We don't want to keep it, where there's a lot of ads. There's a few ads. But the point is we want to make it so that way, we can sustain this for the long term. If people donate, we're never going to paywall anything, I don't think, as of right now. But if people, start donating, we'll start doing cooler and cooler stuff. Like donations are how we get to cover stuff like Tribeca and other, film festivals. And, we may be able to bring on more people to help out. So if you want to help out the show and you want more content from us, by all means, even just going and giving us a 5-star rating on Spotify helps out a lot. But that's it. That's the only ad we'll have on the podcast ever. But here's whatever podcast you're going to be listening to. Good evening, and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. I'm a little pissed off. Let's talk about this real quick. Let's play this out. So I haven't seen many documentaries this year. Let me preface it with that. I know there's been quite a few documentaries. I've gotten a lot of traction on the festival circuit this year. Porcelain War, which I think was a feature, is one that was that nominated last year for something? No, that was at Sundance this year, so I think that's eligible for this year. For this year, Porcelain War. There was another documentary about the war in the war in Ukraine, the ongoing conflict in Gaza. I won't call it a war because it's pretty one-sided. Closer probably to genocide than it is a war, but regardless, here we are, and this is one of the documentaries that has gotten a lot of traction over the course of the year so far. It is Superman, the Christopher Reeve Story, which is a documentary about Christopher Reeve, famous for playing Superman in Superman 78, or Superman the movie, and then the ensuing 3 sequels. And famously, in a horse riding accident, was paralyzed below the neck, and devoted his life then to disability advocacy and research. And this documentary is about all of it. It's not just about, his time as Superman. It's not just about his time as an advocate. It's about all of it and how it all kind of interconnects back in one web. Because that's what a person is. I mean, it's not any one part of their life. And the thing about this, when I watched this documentary, and then I had to look it up after the fact, because this is a documentary that I think I could have watched it at Sundance, because it was, I think, part of the Sundance at home, like where they have the screenings online, where I ended up watching Seeking Mavis Beacon, which I also really enjoyed. And when that comes out, I would highly recommend everyone see that. That was also a really good movie. But this one was, I think it won the Audience Award or something similar or the Jury Prize, and was immediately picked up by Warner Brothers and under the DC Studios label, making this, I think, the first official DC Studios project under that label. I mean, unless the Penguin counts. Regardless, it doesn't matter. That's not what we're here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is, why the fuck was this a Fathom event? I'm sorry, if you're Warner Brothers and you're buying this movie for distribution, and you are one of the biggest fucking distributors on the planet, why the fuck is this a 2-day Fathom event? And that was the thing I was thinking going into it. I'm like, why the fuck is Warner Brothers doing a Fathom event? Because it's not like it's like some small studio is doing it. And hell, I've seen, smaller documentaries get wider releases. Like, what? This is a documentary about one of the biggest stars on the planet in the 70s because of his role as Superman, and then all his legacy. This is a major... And again, I've seen major movies get picked up out of Sundance. I've seen smaller movies get picked up out of Sundance and get bigger distribution deals. Why the fuck is this a 2-day Fathom event? I can't understand what this thought process is. I have a theory. Because this is such a well-made documentary. It's like, this is, when we talk about documentaries, especially when we talk about documentaries about celebrities, it's about crafting a narrative about their life, number one. Number two, how well they play with the existing formula and all of that. And I think they do, because like, at a certain point, I've talked about this every other time with Judy Blume Forever, which got a wider deal last year. Reggie, which got a wider deal last year. That fucking documentary Black Ice that no one saw but like me and like the other guy who was in the theater with me last year about the history of black players in hockey, like that got a huge deal. Like that was in theaters for weeks. Why is this only in for 2 days? And I'm not saying that one is bigger than the other. I'm saying that the distribution arm for whatever company made Black Ice is not fucking Warner Brothers. It's not fucking... Warner Brothers is one of the biggest fucking distributors on the planet. Like, there were so many other movies that I picked up out of festivals this year that got that got bigger releases than this. The Bike Riders got picked up out of a schedule. Was that by 20th Century or was that Focus? Either way, that got a theatrical run. Seeking Mavis Beacon, when that comes out later this year, has a fucking theatrical run and not a Fathom event. I'm not disparaging the quality of the Fathom event because I've seen Fathom events before. Clerks 3 was a Fathom event. But that makes fucking sense. Clerks 3 is a very niche audience. Like, it was... When I went to see that in the theater, like, why the fuck did the 4:30 movie have a bigger release than fucking this one? Like, and I'm sorry if the sound sounds a little weird because I'm yelling and I'm not used to dealing with this with a fucking microphone that's, like, properly put on my body. But why the fuck was, like... My theory, and this goes back to what we've seen with Warner Brothers in the last few years, since the merger with Discovery. What I think happened is they bought this, put it under the CNN documentaries banner, put it under the HBO documentaries banner, put it under the DC Studios banner, put it in as a Fathom event, give it the fucking cursory bare minimum to get it Oscar nominated, because this movie will have a substantial Oscar run. But they wanted to make fucking damn sure that this movie did not get into the public eye this close to the election. Because here's the thing. Christopher Reeve, noted liberal. And you watch this documentary, that is not something that they obfuscate. He's speaking at the DNC after he got hurt. I think it's the same DNC venue as where they had the DNC this year. I mean, it was definitely in Chicago, but I think it was the same venue. I'm looking, I'm like, oh, they just did a different stage and all that, but it looks basically the same. Like, and it was in Chicago. It's like, he's speaking at the DNC. They show his advocacy even before he was a member of, before he was paralyzed, a member of the disabled community. Like, he was doing advocacy for animal rights, for environmental issues, and for social justice issues. That's not, like, and when you look at what's happened with Warner Brothers, it's gotten very, I don't want to say ethno-state at Warner Brothers, but it's gotten pretty ethno-state at Warner Brothers, where it's like, if you have a movie that has a non-white lead, and we can't find a way to salvage it with minimal effort, we're just going to can that movie. If you have a movie with a white lead, we'll put another $200 million with a guy who abducted a fucking teenager, and we're going to fucking put that out in the theater and lose a ton of money. How the fuck... You bought this movie at Sundance. How does it not financially benefit you to release it with a normal theatrical release? Like, what the fuck else is going on? And it's not like it's a movie that you need, it's a hard sell. It's not, it's some obscure person. It's Christopher fucking Reeve. Like, I'm watching this documentary, and I'm just like, this is one of the best crafted documentaries that I've watched in a movie theater in recent years. Like, I would put it up there with, like, Summer of Soul. And, like, look, I'm going to be seeing, we've talked about this when we talked about the release schedule for Hamptons and New York Film. I'm going to be seeing Homegrown, which looks really good. And that's more political in nature, and that's, you know, more, I don't want to say it's more important, but like it's more topical and more like it's going to be more guerrilla journalism style than it is going to be like, this is a very buttoned up kind of documentary. And when I watch this, I'm like, this is just so well done. It's beautifully edited. I think the way they decide to use the footage and the B-roll and all of that, it's very well weaved into the narrative, so that way you feel what you're designed to feel the entire way through. I am just utterly and completely baffled that this is a 2-day Fathom event. Like, I'm sorry, what you couldn't, like, this wasn't something you could spring to do a full theatrical release for. You couldn't find some money somewhere to move around to be like, we're going to do a full theatrical release for this. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? I am unhinged. Like I realize that, like, you can listen to this and be like, yeah, you know, he is a little unhinged. But, like, it is so disrespectful to what this documentary is. It is, and yet indicative for the leadership at Warner Brothers for the last 3-4 years since the acquisition, since Zaslav took over. Like, in that time, it has just been bad decision after bad decision. They bought this documentary, and I feel like it's one of those things where it's like they kind of were in a situation where they had to buy the doc. They couldn't let this go to Disney, or, I mean, I guess not National Geographic. I guess History Channel could have bought it. Is that not Discovery? I don't know. I mean, History Channel could have bought it. A24 could have bought it and released it as a documentary. Neon could have distributed it. And any other distributor would have treated this with more care. Why the fuck do the Disney nature documentaries get wider release than this? And you know what? You put $200 million into Joker, and I'm going to be seeing that in 2 weeks. It just boggles the mind that this was the decision they made. And I'm just like, why? Like, why was this the decision you made? Because, and I looked it up, because I was like, oh, did Warner Brothers just decide to debut this at Sundance to try and generate hype? And at which point, if that was the case, then they totally did something fucking stupid. Because, like, why would you do that and then put it out as a Fathom event? But no, they went to Sundance, saw this documentary, bought it. This documentary was independently produced, and Warner Brothers buys it and then tacks on all the fucking, you know, all their own logos as they're distributing it. Which, fine, whatever, that happens. That's what happens every time you have one of these. But, like, I just don't understand why you would do this as a 2-day limited event. I don't think, if you look at what movies are currently playing in theaters, if you put it out this weekend, I don't think you would have had an issue finding theaters willing to buy space for it. If you put it out next weekend, I don't think you would have had an issue trying to find theaters to buy space for it. If you put it out in the middle of October, I don't think you would have had a problem finding space for it. Like, there's plenty of spaces where this could have come out, and then even most of August, you could have put this out. And again, not had trouble finding space to put this in there somewhere. Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm watching it, like, and as I'm like, why the fuck did I have to, why couldn't I use A-List to see this? Oh, it's a Fathom event. Why was this a Fathom event? And I'm just baffled. I just don't understand it. The documentary is great, and I feel like my incredulity toward Warner Brothers has kind of taken over the thought process here. But, like, what? Like, it's just one of those things where I'm just completely confused by this decision. And again, if you're going through Fathom events, you're gonna split the money with Fathom. On top of splitting it with the theater, why the fuck would you do that? Like, why wouldn't you just book it at the theater on a 2-day and that's the thing that's confusing too about this whole thing, where it's like, you can go and watch, like, why the fuck did you re-release all the Batman movies in theater this week? Like, and that's not me bullshitting for the sake of just being melodramatic. No, literally, if you go to AMC, you can watch Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. Why the fuck are all these movies playing? Blue Beetle's playing. Like, look, I liked Blue Beetle. I didn't hate Blue Beetle. Let's qualify it that way. I think Blue Beetle had problems, but it was easily the best DC movie last year. Like, but if Blue Beetle is playing in a theater, why would you book that instead of booking this? Like, I just don't understand it. How is that a better option by Warner Brothers on a wide release? And again, I come back to this. I liked the 4:30 movie. I'm a Kevin Smith fan. I'm kind of the target audience. I'm like, I get it. I'm the mark for that, and I totally and completely understand that. My confusion is, why did that movie get a full release? I had to go a little far because I think it was only at Regal, and the Regal right by me only has 9 screens. I had to go to a Regal that was about 15 miles from my house. But why did that get a bigger release than a documentary about one of the biggest actors of the 70s and 80s and his life and his charity work? I just don't understand it. And it actually pisses me off that they did it this way. And it has nothing to... I think it's too. It's like, this is going to come off with like, oh, well, usually he doesn't pay to go in because he's got A-list. That's not the case, because last year at Christmas, my boss at my regular job gave us these AMC things anyway, where it's like you can go in and it's basically a black pass, so you can get into any movie. He gave everyone that. It was a gift card. You could buy them at Walmart. It's a gift card, and then it's like 2 tickets to a movie. So it's like concessions and whatever. It is what it is. I got that, so I used the first one when I wanted to go see Dune earlier this year. I used the second one here, and then I have a pass too left over because when I went to see Godzilla back in March, if you go back on the feed, you'll see the episode where I talk about how I saw the first half of Godzilla and then had to go back the next day and see the entire movie because the fire alarm went off in the middle. So they gave everyone passes. My thing is, like, it has nothing to do with paying to see the movie. My issue with this is, why was it a limited event, a limited 2-day Fathom event? This should have been a wider release. And it's like, when you look at the shit that got put out this year in theaters, like, when I was doing the mid-year top 5, it was very easy to pick out my 5 favorite movies. Because it was such a race to the bottom for so much for so much else that was going on, that I'm just like, what the, like, I'm actually really pissed off about this. I don't know how long this is going to be in theaters. I think there's one more day they're running it. I think it's today, and then middle of the week next week they're going to be running it. They're continuing to run it, and to that end, my go see this movie if you can in a theater. This is a 5 on our scale, which we're going to be reworking the scale, which is why if you go to mwpnews.com, the page describing the scale has been not taken down, but it's just been hidden off the homepage. We're going to go to a more straightforward thing where it's not based on how you should watch the movie, because that feels a little reductive, I think. I think we should go to a straight number scale. But regardless, we're still going to use stars, but it's just going to be number of stars instead of number, like, out of whatever. It is what it is. This is a 5, and I would say go out and see this if you can, the next Fathom event. Sell it out. Make Warner Brothers realize how badly they fucked up on this. That's my rallying cry here. Because at the end of the day, it's not like you're giving the money directly to Warner Brothers, because at the end of the day, I don't know what the split is on a Fathom event, but it can't be great. Because like I said with Clerks 3, that was the last Fathom event I went to. Clerks 3 works as a Fathom event because the majority of the money that comes in on that project is not from the Fathom event. The majority of the money that comes in on that project is from the tour, because he tours with the movie and you pay to see the movie, and then there's also like an evening with Kevin Smith included after. So it's like that's where the money comes in. And then if you don't want to go to the tour and you just want to see the movie, here's a limited event where you can do, or you don't want to drive, in my case, drive all the way into Manhattan after work to see it. Here's how you can see the movie. And that's kind of the trade-off, where it's like they're willing to do that because the money's coming in elsewhere. I do not understand the thought process behind this, because let me just look real quick. Is there a disclosed figure over how much they paid for this release? It was released at Sundance. $15 million. So they paid $15 million. I don't understand why. Like, I mean, I think I don't want to say they got stronger in paying $15 million for it, because it's like they definitely paid more than you probably would, because it's an open bidding situation, and they have to come big there. But like, Fathom had to have backed up a buttload of money for that. Like, that had to have been what it is. Fathom had to pay them a lot of money to get that. Like, because like, what the fuck? What, like, paying $15 million, even if you did that and then dumped it out on streaming, that'd be like, oh, that makes sense. Like, $15 million for a streaming documentary, you know, and you can run it on CNN because it's at the CNN Docs label. You can put it on HBO because it's at the HBO Docs label. Like, that, no, even then, it's like, it feels like a really dumb decision. I'm sorry, but $15 million is not a price where I'm like, well, how much money is Fathom offering me for this? Because I feel like, look, you're not going to make back $15 million on a theatrical run, but it's not going to make back $15 million on a theatrical run from Fathom, and there's no way Fathom's going to offer them $15 million for the distribution. Because that'd be fucking stupid. If it's like, well, we'll give it to you $15 million, it's like, what the fuck? No. Go fuck yourself. Like the whole thing just feels very weird, and I don't know why you would go this route. I don't know. Go see Superman, the Christopher Reeve Story. Super/Man, the Christopher Reeve Story. It's playing in theaters one more day, and I don't know. I'm just baffled by this. And if you can't make it to the one more day they're screening it, which is entirely possible, it's a fucking Wednesday of all things. Or, hang on, today's 21st, 22nd is tomorrow, 23rd is Monday, it's Wednesday. It's a fucking Wednesday, 2 weeks before Joker, and it's like, oh, The Wild Robot's opening this weekend, so if you want to save to go and, you know, see a movie this weekend, you're going to go and see that with your kid probably, or you're going to, what's the other big release? Metropolis comes out this week too. Like, I guess I'm speechless. And I know that that's rough to say after just ranting for about 20 minutes, but I'm just baffled by this, and it's got to be the politics of the situation. That's the only thing I can think of is the politics of the situation. They don't want a wide theatrical release where it's like, oh, so, like, because that's the optic of it then. If they put that out, it's like, oh, this is, you know, oh, look at what Christopher Reeve said about, you know, Christopher Reeve was a Democrat. Like, that is something that would sway, like, it could sway an undecided voter if undecided voters actually existed and not just attention whores. But we'll wrap up there for today. Our next episode will be on, why did he do that? Our next episode will be, at some point this week, we're going to do His Three Daughters, the new movie with Carrie Coon and Elizabeth Olsen. And I forgot who the other one was. Oh, Natasha Lyonne. Not Natasha Leggero. But we'll be doing that at some point this weekend. At some point this week. But until then, have a great rest of your week.